Howdy, folks. Double J here. That's right. That's J-E-double-F. J-A-R-R-E-double-T. That's Double J, Jeff Jarrett. World's greatest singer, world's greatest entertainer, world's greatest wrestler, and now the world's greatest podcaster. And guess what? I'm on air. That's right. And you're on air with Ruben Jay.
Double J, Jeff Jarrett is joining me right now. Jeff, man, I am super excited to be talking to you. First and foremost, man, My World, the podcast that's taken over the world. You and Conrad Thompson are doing a wonderful job there. Tell me about your decision to jump into the podcasting world, because I think a lot of people like me wanted to hear from you a lot sooner, and we're so happy to have you now.
Dude, before we dive in, first off, thanks for having me on. Your setup, your audio is super clear. The
Awesome.
graphics look nice. StreamYard, as we both know, is on time, on point, shall we say? Man, I appreciate the professionalism, and look, I try to do a lot of these, as many as I can, because I understand I've got to get out and spread the word. B, you guys, look, it's all about reciprocation. So hats off to you for inviting me. But man, I love it when a guy brings their A game. So I just want to tip of the hat to you. I'm excited, dude. Spreading the word on My World, and Conrad diving in, just staying persistently on me to get things kicked off. And we kicked it off. We're 37, 38 episodes. We kicked off literally the day after WrestleMania is when we announced it. And then the following month, so 4 weeks later, is when we kicked off. So got nominated for Best New Podcast only 3 months in. So we're excited about 2022. I won't ramble too much here, but you tell me, what are you thinking these days, Ruben?
I'm loving the stories that you're telling. I really enjoyed the launch of TNA episodes, because it's something that I have always wanted to know more info on. And I'm hoping that you talk about your Global Force Wrestling days. I know those weren't too long lived, but I'd love to hear the story behind getting that up on the ground, and some of the complications you came into. That's what I would love to hear next, personally. And I would love to ask you about that now, but we don't have enough time for that. But
Hey,
I'm
I
digging it.
Cut you off, but that episode, and I've told Conrad, God, it almost sounds like I'm teasing it, but I've told Conrad some bits and pieces, and he goes, "What?" Like, the story behind the story on that, there's a lot of stuff. Now, look, we both know that it didn't head in the direction that we had hoped, but man, life happens, and it can take in a bunch of different ways. And the Global Force Gold, that is actually a little bit of a punchline, but there's a unique story behind that. But there's also the ballparks, and now, look, I'm involved in minor league baseball now. And so with the ballparks and the Orleans, Vegas tapings, the content that was produced, there's so much that really goes into that story. So I'm excited about that once we get to it. Conrad's, he steers the ship on show topics. So I'm glad to hear that you like those early, there's the Owen episode, which is very emotional.
Oh, yeah.
The Vince, the China, we could go to, but those that 3-parter on the founding, it really wasn't a 3-parter. It's 3 different completely standalone episodes. But Conrad diving into that was really, I thought that was unique for his decision, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. What part of the country are you in?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay. It's funny because TNA, we had pockets all around the country on that startup fandom. The early Wednesday night shows, literally San Diego was a really strong market for the Asylum shows. And I could tell you Knoxville was, and so there were some Oklahoma and Iowa towns. But anyway, that's why I asked you that, because those early days we were shooting that out of Nashville, but pockets around the country were really dialed into it.
Yeah, and I remember I spoke with Jeremy Borash, I think in 2015, so years later, obviously.
Okay.
But I had asked him, I said, dude, when are you guys coming back to LA? And he told me the same thing. He's like, LA is a little rough, but the West Coast, San Diego is a huge market. So that's interesting to hear. Now, I'm curious, because you just got involved with Game Changer Wrestling. I know that I'm curious to see, will we be seeing you in a hardcore match? Will we be seeing you in something like that, or are you just kind of more swinging guitars?
On these rounds of media, obviously I'm talking about my world and fight and minor league baseball, but I've got a gaming thing. But the game changer conversation has obviously it's come up on every bit of media that I've done over the last 2 weeks. And it all came about in sort of a unique way. They'd been after me a while, but it's almost as if, like, what are my next steps going to be? I'm not really sure. I know they're not really sure. We're going to see where it takes us, but there's some folks online referring to me as the last outlaw, and
Interesting.
so it kind of goes with some things that I'm going to get off my chest and some things I'm going to say. And I'm headed to Chicago this weekend, and I'll just sort of leave it at that.
Okay.
But look, you just said, and I don't know if you actually said the words death match, but look, I was doing hardcore matches in Memphis before ECW was born, and so look, a death match is not new to me. Um, Although there's some folks within GCW that thinks they created the death match, and so they're Effie. Um, Truly thinks he's a revolutionary talent, and he's just not. Cardona thinks that, oh, wow, I'm going to put on my big boy britches and actually go to work and not have a diaper put on me every day and a bottle give to me. And I'm going to get out of that cocoon. And hey, I want the whole world to pat me on the back because I'm actually being an adult and going to work. Uh, there's some things that I'm going to say, and I don't think they're going to like what I say, but I think they need to be said.
Absolutely. Now, like I said, I love the podcast. I love what you and Conrad are doing. On one of your, I'm not sure how recent of an interview it was, but it came out, I believe, on SE Scoops, where I read it, where you're talking about how WWE obviously number one, AEW obviously number two, but there's room for 3, 4, and 5. Um, Game Changers obviously moving in the direction of gaining more and more traction. Conrad is, I believe, jokingly teasing a Jeff Jarrett Conrad Thompson wrestling promotion. You've obviously done it twice. What's the over under on the possibility of you promoting either a full on promotion or even just a couple of shows here and there?
You know, this is, on the one hand, Ruben, so simple to answer. Right now, the plans are not in place. Um, I am a third generation promoter. My grandfather, my grandmother promoted. My grandfather on the other side of my family, my father promoted. It's in our blood. But I'm working with a minor league baseball team. I am working with a video game company. Obviously, the podcast. I've got a bunch of different projects going on. But at the end of the day, I was asked about a promotion, and I said it. And it's funny how things, people can sort of take this and headline, and then Conrad fuels it like, "Hey Jeff, let's talk about the promotion you're not starting." He's having a blast with it, but he's just having fun with it. But I do believe, I firmly believe that the evolution of technology is that, for all due respect to Mexico and Japan and even Europe, they've always had their own promotions. But for the most part, the United States has been the creator and producer of professional wrestling for years and years and years, and they exported it around the world. I think there is a place where you can create a global promotion, and the home base may be in Brazil, may be in London, maybe in Germany, maybe in, I mean, you name it, in Asia somewhere. So I just think there's a lot of possibilities out there, and we no longer live in a world that you're laser focused on broadcast or cable television. We live in a streaming world. The Lord's
Mhm.
most successful network by far is YouTube. And so we just live in a different era. And so since we're all connected, I can tweet right now, and people in literally in Tokyo or London or Sydney, Australia, they can reply instantaneously. So that means, as a wrestling community, I think we're all connected. So we can create content. produce content, air content, and share it around the world. And that era, yes, it's been coming along, but I just think with the ability, and I think the pandemic escalated a lot of these viewing habits. So I'm excited to see where the industry takes us in 2022.
Oh, absolutely. So am I. Jeff, I know you're tight on time, man. I'm gonna have you do a quick shout out from at the end here, but tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter and social media and all that fun stuff.
Mine's easy, brother. For my world, it's at My World Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at My World Pod, and then my personal is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Real Jeff Jarrett.
Absolutely. And if you are a wrestling fan, the My World podcast is definitely one to download and listen. There's some great stories, some great insight that you're not going to get from anywhere else. So, Jeff, thank you so much for your time. We'll be back with more in just a second.
Thank you, man.